Not sure if I'm overreacting to BF's joking. Hi all, I'll try to make this short. My BF 30 and I 27 have been dating for about 9 months, know each other almost 2 years, and things have been okay. There are a few hiccups here and there, but we've mostly worked those out. My BF works in an office and makes pretty good money, enough that both of us could live on, as he's always telling me, unprompted. I, however, am on disability and have been ever since I turned 19. I've had little part-time jobs here and there, but nothing too high-paying or anything as I would lose my disability. We never spoke much about how much either of us made or where our income came from until 3 months ago when he started talking about moving in together. A reason I don't date much is because I'm always ashamed to tell people where my income comes from, as my disability isn't exactly something you can tell from just looking at me. By the way, I've never asked him to pay anything for me. We often go Dutch when we go out or one of us treats the other. I live at home right now and have told him that I'm okay with moving in, but that I wouldn't be able to contribute as much as he would be able to. That prompted the serious talk about income. I told him how I got my money and he was quiet for a long time, said he never would have guessed, and now my weird schedule made sense, and continued talking about moving in together. Since I thought everything was okay, I agreed and we started looking for places. This is where things have started getting annoying and downright hurtful. We've seen a few places since we started looking, but mostly we have just been looking at places online. We'll be looking on his laptop and see a place and start talking about what each of us wants or doesn't want. Sometimes, if I disagree with something he wants or doesn't want, he'll joke and say something like, "I'm not sure you should have much say about XYZ as you won't be paying as much as I will," or, "My money talks louder than yours," and says this is what we should get or not get, and then laugh and say, "You know I'm just joking, I care about your opinions because you'll be living there." Or, twice, as we've been looking at places, he's joked to our potential landlord that they shouldn't ask me any questions because the only thing I'm really doing is just putting my name on the rental agreement. I have never felt so embarrassed in my life, so I'll go off and look at the rest of the place and avoid him and the landlord. This is not the only things, as he jokes about a lot of things, especially since he found out about my income. He'll say things like, "I'm so tired after working all day, I wish I could just sit around like you do," or, "It must be nice to get to sleep in every day, I wish I could do that, but if I don't work, I couldn't take care of myself," and they all feel like little digs at me. Now, I've known my BF for almost 2 years. He lived with his parents before we started dating, where he did not pay rent or help with bills, didn't do anything around his house, and his mother and father will go on and on about that if it comes up, even though he had a job. He's also not good with saving, so even though he was living free at home he did not have anything saved. I've helped my parents with bills and help around the house, and have a very small savings, yet he keeps talking down on me as if all I do is just sit at home all day, collect a check, and don't do anything with it. Believe me, if I could work regularly like him, I would be working. It just seems like he's gotten super snobby or something since, and it's been grating on my nerves. I've spoken to him on numerous occasions about this, but all he says is that I'm taking it too seriously and making a big deal out of nothing and refuses to talk about it any further. I've asked if he is fine with the fact that I don't work regularly, and he says he's fine with it and that, of course, he makes enough for both of us to live on, so it's not a problem. However, again, he'll throw in a dig and undo anything good he has said. This is the reason I hate dating and relationships, because unless you've got some amazing job somewhere people think you're just some slob or something, and it makes me feel so bad. Like, I don't deserve to be dating anyone. And while I've thought about leaving, I keep thinking I shouldn't leave because will I ever find another guy who is okay with my income? Edit. Thank you all for your comments and to anyone I couldn't get back to. I've just got a lot on my mind to think about after reading all these comments, and some things have come to my attention. I think the situation is actually more serious than I thought it was. That he was just mean when it came to joking, but apparently this is a sign of verbal and emotional abuse, and I just know I don't want to be in a situation like that. I'm going to talk to him and see what he has to say and go from there. Thank you all again. Update. 5 days later. I spoke to my BF the day after I responded to a lot of you. I decided I was going to talk to him one more time and set a boundary about these jokes or tell him I wasn't moving in with him, and that maybe we need to reevaluate the relationship. I told him I wanted to have a serious discussion, and he immediately asked if I wanted to break up with him because he figured it was coming. I was taken back because I didn't expect that reaction. I didn't say anything at first, but then I told him that I wanted to talk to him about his jokes and, honestly, his behavior in general when it comes to people and making fun of them in such a mean way, especially when they ask him to stop. I also did a little reading on verbal abuse and abuse in general, and things were a lot more clear. So, he listened to me and then told me that he didn't like people trying to change him and that his last girlfriend had tried to do the same and she couldn't accept him for who he was. He thought I would be different because I was more understanding and fun. I'll admit, that is probably one of my flaws, that I try to understand everyone's position about most things and give them far too many chances. There are exceptions, but for the most part, I will try to understand someone and work with them on it. I asked him if his ex and the overweight friend were the only ones who had left him over this behavior, and he told me that he'd lost a lot of friends and dating was hard, because women tended to cut out pretty quickly, again, in his words, because people are too sensitive and want him to change how he is. He seemed very stuck on being accepted as he is, and angry about people trying to change him. I changed direction and asked him if he actually thought anything was wrong with what he said. I used my experiences, specifically, and told him about how I felt when we were looking at places, and he said what he said to the potential landlords. He, of course, said they were jokes and that he'd never think less of me because of how much money I made, because he kind of figured I didn't make a lot because of how I tended to do things. I asked him to elaborate, and he said how I was always on things like Groupon or using coupons at stores or wanting to go out when places had specials or something, and he was never around anyone who needed to do that type of thing. So, I told him that I did think he has a problem with people who earn less and don't live a similar lifestyle to him, and that he just didn't see it. That, sometimes, we are trying to be good because we have these thoughts of how we should be on the surface and we try to follow them, but when it's more close to home, our real feelings come out because we're faced with it more, and I told him that was okay, but that I didn't think it would work for us, that he might be more comfortable with someone who makes the same amount as him and can contribute how he'd like. He interrupted me and told me he didn't want someone like that because he couldn't be himself around someone obsessed with money and material things. Not what I said, by the way, that they'd be too concerned with money and he liked me because I wasn't that way. I kind of ignored that, but it kind of told me that he either doesn't want someone who has as much power in the relationship as he has, or he thinks women who want more or expect more of him are gold diggers or someone trying to take advantage in some way. Anyway, I continued and told him that even if he felt they were just jokes, they were wearing on me and my self-esteem, and I couldn't live that way. I also told him that it's natural for people to not want to change when they've been a certain way for a long time, and so it seems right to us, but that change can be good, that maybe therapy could be good at helping with that. I told him that it's wonderful to be accepted for who you are, but if who you are is, well, jerkish, people are a lot less likely to accept you unless they are also jerks, and nothing good can come from a bunch of jerks getting together because they'll be toxic to other people, as well as to each other. And I told him I think he's better than that he deserves much better. That any woman he truly loves deserves much better than being verbally abused and made to feel like they aren't his equal or worthy. He sat there and didn't say anything for a while, just looked at me and sighed a lot. He finally said he was disappointed in me for wanting to abandon him because he thought we were true soulmates, and he couldn't believe I was saying such abusive stuff about him. I was shocked he was calling me abusive because I didn't think I was being abusive by telling him why I don't want to continue if this is how he will act, and that the way he acts is not good. Maybe I went a little far in saying anything about a future girlfriend, but I guess I wanted to impress on him that, if his friends and partners keep leaving because of this behavior, everyone will keep leaving. The only partners willing to stay will be someone who dishes it just as well as they take it, and he knows he's actually very sensitive and wouldn't like that, or it'll be someone who lacks any self-esteem and he'll make her feel even worse about herself until she breaks down. Like, I could feel myself getting to that point, and that's why I'm so angry and frustrated. Not only with the fact that he was now turning all this around to me being abusive, but that he still didn't really seem to get what I was saying about my feelings. It made me realize, yes, I need to leave this situation, and I do feel bad about it because I do feel like I'm abandoning him. But at the same time, it just doesn't seem like my feelings, or anyone's, are important to him. So why should I stay with someone who doesn't seem to get that his behavior isn't exactly such that gets people to stay in his life? I realized I probably wasn't going to get to him, and the conversation itself had me shaking because I was upset and disappointed myself. However, looking back, I could see signs that this is who he is. Other people's feelings just don't mean a lot to him, and doing some soul searching, I realized that I stupidly thought he would change over time. But waiting on that is wearing on me, and our last conversation tells me that he doesn't see anything wrong with what he does, so it's unlikely he will change. He didn't seem interested in saying anything else besides that he was sorry I felt the way I did. I told him that I thought we needed to give up on things and find someone better for ourselves elsewhere. He didn't say anything, so I just left. A few hours later I got a confusing text from him telling me that he hadn't seen who I was and that I had abusive tendencies. I didn't respond and just blocked him on everything. I'm sad things ended the way they did, but it was probably for the best. I'll either be good alone or I'll find someone who I work better with. And I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who commented on my last post, and sorry if I didn't get back to anyone. I've been quite torn up over this, even though it was my decision. I miss him more as a friend than a partner, but I don't think being friends would work out too well either, so I'm just leaving it.